They're just going to get the same usual that they do. Winning is going to help you, and fan attendance is going to help as well for those that run the event. But like at the end of the day, this billions of dollar deal is going to benefit Jay Monahan, who is probably going to be dead before this comes to fruition. Who knows? I don't know how sick he really is, but it's probably been eating him up so much that his health has taken a terrible turn because he's been sitting on this information. He couldn't tell anybody about it because it's a life-altering and professional sport-altering situation here. The golfers themselves, they're probably flabbergasted because they could have gotten their payday previously by signing with the Live Tour last year, and now all those at hundreds of millions of dollars that they lost is going to be, unfortunately, all for naught. Guys like Bryson DeChambeau, Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson as well, they got their payday, and guess what? They're not so much back at square one. They're like at back to square 15, if you will, because they've got their hundreds of millions of dollars. And it doesn't bother them enough. And you know what? They're just back on the circuit right now, and they're just going to be golfing the same events that they've been golfing for years, too. I just think the growth of the game isn't going to be really affected. I just think that maybe... And the first thing I thought when I saw this move, this is kind of in the same situation. The PGA is in a situation very similar to how FIFA has been. I don't want to put them in the same boat because FIFA was extremely corrupt in many, many areas.
Yep.
But, let's hope not 10, 15 years down the road, or maybe 2, 3 years down the road, that we're not in the same situation that PGA is going to be in the way that FIFA was in, and they're just trying to get the money. They don't really care about anything. They just want as much as they can get in as quick as possible, so that way they can just fill their pockets and live happily ever after while working off the backs of hundreds of thousands, if not thousands of people that are going to be, directly affected. That could be, life-altering moves that are being made here with this merger. I really don't think it's going to have much effect of the game itself. I think it's kind of absurd in my mind.
Yep. I don't know. I mean, honestly, PGA, Live, fine. I don't really care.
Yeah.
You could throw Adam Sandler as Happy Gilmore in there for all I care. I mean, that's an idea. Maybe bring that back. I don't know. Maybe have someone do a Happy Gilmore song. Who knows? All right. Next one, Voldy.
Well, the greatest soccer player in the world is coming to America. He's taking his talents to South Beach. That's right. Leo Messi, the sweepstakes are over as he will be signing with Inter Milan of the Major League Soccer. That's right. MLS Inter Milan, as they did announce this past week that the 35-year-old phenom that is fresh off winning a World Cup with his native country, Argentina, that he will be playing for Inter Milan coming up here at some point here in the very near future. Of course, Messi, regarded as one of the, if not the best player in the world, primarily playing overseas as well with Spain, with Barcelona, even with PSG Paris as well. But now making his way over to the MLS with this new club that is also fronted by a former player that made a big splash with playing in the MLS, David Beckham, who is the Inter Milan club president, who left Real Madrid to play for the LA Galaxy back in 2007. Same move, 16 years later, one of the best players in the world coming to play in the MLS, which is slowly but surely gaining more and more respect in the professional soccer world as well. Is it absurd or approved? Will soccer be exponentially grow, especially in the United States, with Leo Messi playing the MLS for Inter Milan coming very, very soon?
I'm going to say absolutely yes. Messi, I mean, literally, if you talk to anyone who's a big soccer fan, everyone knows who he is. The guy's an icon. Right. If you watched any of the World Cup, obviously, I couldn't believe how many Messi jerseys there were. It's just in the whole, I mean, literally, it was littered with so many people, wearing Messi jerseys and things like that. And you look at a team like Inter Miami, especially if it's headed by David Beckham and whatnot, there's going to be a lot of people, and there's going to be a lot of eyes watching him. he decided to turn down Barcelona, which is interesting in itself too.
His former club.
And he's coming to the States, and to be honest with you, there's going to be a lot of eyes, and I think this is great for the game of soccer, especially with the MLS. Obviously, you got to formalize and finalize an agreement and whatnot, but people are excited. And I think Messi is going to be a main attraction. And there's going to be a lot of people that want to watch him play. And, he'll dazzle. He's that good. So we'll see how it all turns out. But, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval, definitely. I think this is great for the game of soccer. I know it's weird to say that because I'm not a huge fan of soccer. The only soccer that I really watch is either the U.S. women's team or if you watch Ted Lasso. So there's that as well. So, Voldy, what do you think?
This is going to be like it was when David Beckham decided to come to play in the U.S. I mean, couldn't pick a better market. Obviously, Beckham played and made his mark with the LA Galaxy, a huge market team. Now you're going to a similar market as well, South Florida, very kind, very soccer friendly as well, with that club that is currently dead last in the Eastern Conference. They're 6 points out of a playoff spot, but they could use a real shot in the arm. The real interesting thing as well, especially with ticket sales for them. I think like the cheapest ticket that you could have bought at the start of the season was like $29 to go watch Inter Miami. Now it's shot up to like $340 for the cheapest ticket there. That's one ticket, probably nosebleeds as well. And they had to stop selling tickets for Inter Milan, probably just jack up the prices a little bit more here with his impending debut for Inter Milan coming up here, hopefully within the next month. His contract with PSG does end on June 30th, so we won't see him in the month of June. July would probably be the earliest that we'll see him with, looks like the CONCACAF Nations Cup, I think, is coming up, or like the League Cup or something like the CONCACAF Leagues Cup, which is the confederation of the leagues in the I think it's like the North America and like some of the Caribbean islands as well that makes up that realm. But very interesting. I think this is going to see a little bit of a jump. I don't know how significant, but it's only going to help out, especially attracting more international players to come to the U.S. because we've seen a lot more in recent years of some of these bigger stars from overseas come to America, and as compared to the days of where Tim Howard and Landon Donovan just couldn't wait to get out of the MLS and go play overseas to get more exposure. But now it's kind of a different way around this time, where we're seeing some of these top, maybe young, promising players from overseas come over and play in the MLS through a little bit of a transfer window as well, to allow them to get the experience of play in the MLS and the U.S. as well. Very beneficial for all sides around. I think this is going to be a big step, and I think it's got my stamp of approval. I can see this going very well. Of course, at the end of the day, Lionel Messi is going to get his money. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I mean, he started the season 20 goals and 20 assists for PSG Paris as well. I mean, that's not any signs of slowing down, especially for a guy who's 35 and playing soccer. I think he'll be just fine playing the MLS.
No signs of slowing down either. So, I mean, the guy's, he's the most iconic soccer player right now. And that's what people want to see. All right, next one, Volde.
So another interesting story, this involving Florida as well, but we're going to stick with American football, this being the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they did unveil plans for a new stadium that would replace the current confinings of their stadium right now to basically be an all-in-one venue world within itself. Jaguars world, if you will, with the Khan family playing home to them as well. So that brings up, you're going to build a new stadium and all the amenities surrounding it. So where are you going to put your team for a couple of years? Well, the Jacksonville Jaguars are currently planning to speak with Daytona International Speedway about potentially using the racetrack and the infield, of course, as a temporary home stadium should the plans renovations for their current facility come to fruition as well. Now, this has been something that's been spoken about just the last few days as well. They did unveil the plans for a new stadium, but of course, that being said, you got to get those plans to come, to be approved
Fruition,
before you can to be approved before you could have the potential of them playing somewhere else. Not saying that Florida is short of any football facilities to begin with, but with the steady growth of the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're going to need more room. You're going to need more opportunities for Jaguars fans to enjoy the experience. And if we learned anything from the Khan family, money is no object for them. They're going to throw money on the fire. They're going to douse it in gasoline, and they're going to shoot sparklers off at it in order to make it happen as well. So is it absurd or approved? If this plan does come through, would you like to see the Jacksonville Jaguars make Daytona a football destination?
Ooh, that's a great question, because obviously with Daytona, I mean, Daytona's one of the top I'm no NASCAR guy or any racing type of deal. I mean, I do know a guy, Nick Dahlhoff's a big racing guy as well. But, I can see it as a temporary home. Now, I'm glad you brought this one up, because I did see the layout of the new stadium that they're thinking of making, and it's literally SoFi Stadium.
Yeah,
I mean,
basically.
I'm telling the zoners, and I'm telling you, Voldy, if you see the layout, it looks exactly like SoFi.
SoFi in teal. That's what it is.
SoFi in teal. That's pretty darn good. Which is really, I mean, granted, it'll look fantastic. I'm not saying it looks bad, but it's just like, I mean, is this going to be like, looks the exact same. Anyway, that stadium needs a renovation, and it needs it big time.
It does.
And I think anyone would agree with that. They've had good teams, come through the past few years, obviously, up and down and whatnot. But, and then, you don't have Urban Meyer anymore, so that's a good sign, too. But I would say, to add on to that, having Daytona as a temporary home, or are they thinking of making it permanent in Daytona? Did you say that, if I'm not mistaken, or no?
So really it comes down to a few things, I should say, and especially with the overlap in the schedules as well, with the NFL and the NASCAR season as well. It would the pre and the postseason, like the events that would happen, like the Coke Zero Sugar 400 in late August, which overlaps with preseason games, and the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona in late January, that would happen in the postseason as well for the NFL. If the Jaguars do make it that far, there's a lot of things that go into it, especially with NASCAR. I mean, you've got things going on Thursday, Friday, and of course Saturday and Sunday as well. So really the Jags are going to have to really take that into consideration, work with the NFL to make their schedule more incompatible with, obviously, if they do go with Daytona as well. They're looking at this as an option, but obviously there's plenty of facilities in Jacksonville that could host an NFL team for eight games a year or so.
Well, Florida's got plenty of places to play for it, so I would agree with that. But if they make it a football destination, I'd say it had my stamp of approval. I think that's a great town to put it in, and obviously having football and racing, it goes together pretty well, I would say, in some aspects. So I'd be fine with it, and as long as their stadiums looks a little bit better and whatnot, hey, I'm all for it. So. Stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you think?
We've seen in recent years, too, obviously with teams that have built new facilities and have to, partake a couple of seasons somewhere else, obviously with U.S. Bank Stadium. Vikings had to play at, formerly TCF Bank Stadium for a couple seasons. Wasn't all that bad. Had some highlight moments in there as well. When the Rams came back to town, before SoFi was open, they had to play at the old L.A. Coliseum, which brought back the old memories, had some highlight reel games there as well, including the highest scoring Monday Night Football game of all time, and that shootout against Kansas City. Great game overall. But, those are actually built for football. Daytona, there's a lot of space, and looking at it as well, like even Indiana, like they did the Indy 500 a couple weeks ago or whatever, they were like saying you could fit 7 NFL stadiums inside the infield of the Indianapolis, International Raceway. just how massive it all is to begin
That
with,
too.
because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Daytona is a 1.5 mile, 2 mile track as well. You think about 2 miles, that's 5,280 feet times two. So you're looking at
Jeez.
almost, 11,000 feet. That's just feet alone. And you could definitely fit, 300 feet for a football field. And then you've got all that. You're going to bring in stands, amenities, locker room facilities as well. There's a lot that goes into it. I just don't really see it coming to being a possibility, and especially with the playing surface as well. It's Florida as well. They get a lot of rain, a lot of moisture. Do you bring in a different playing surface to begin with? Do you go with the infield that's already there at Daytona? Is it going to be a thicker grass? How they're going to really maneuver all that? There's a lot of moving parts, so hopefully a near plan would come up if the planning for the new stadium for Jacksonville is approved, that they would have a quick response to say, oh yeah, we're going to be playing here, just to let you know for the next couple of seasons while we tear this thing down and rebuild it up for 2 years. I think playing at Daytona, there's a lot of moving parts there, a lot of question marks. I would find it very interesting to see how it would all come to be, so it's got my stamp of approval.
The Vikings played at TCF Bank, at the time TCF Bank, but for a little bit too. So, I mean, I think it's definitely a possibility, and see if it comes into fruition. All right. Next one, Voldy. Here we go.
So, NFL teams beginning mandatory minicamp here this week. Well, one player yesterday was missing at camp, and a team that's looking to make that next jump. We talked about it with the Dalvin Cook situation. The Buffalo Bills and wide receiver Stefondiggs. There were some words, there was a meeting, and he was not at practice yesterday, which is something that turns a couple of heads. And some Vikings fans are probably having deja vu right now with Stefondiggs not pulling his part and making, having questions about where he stands with the team and what's going on. And this is apparently, as post practice and conversations were taking place in the media, that quarterback Josh Allen said that he did not think that there is a, quote, personal conflict between the quarterback and Diggs. Remember, stop me if you've heard this conversation before, but there are things that could have gone better last year. Some examples Allen did give were what the Bills can do to support Diggs, incorporating, quote, a little bit better in what we're doing here, and, quote, getting him the ball or getting more involved in the game plan. What is this conversation familiar? I feel like this is something that happened like 5-6 years ago.
Right.
And then he ended up, I think he got traded or something like that. It was only like not even 5 years ago. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. But yet, here we are, that time removed, couple of good seasons, near berths to championship games. Stefondiggs ain't happy, but he was at practice today, so that, puts a couple positive spins on a few things. But is it absurd or proof? With him missing mandatory minicamp yesterday and practice, could this begin? Could the absence of Stefondiggs from yesterday lead to trouble for the Bills and a possible downfall going into the season?
Alexei said this, and, Diggs is the biggest prima donna in the league. And at the time, when I was defending Stefondiggs with the Vikings and whatnot, there was that little diva in him, and you sensed it, but at the same time, you knew the guy worked hard and he wanted to do what was best, right? But I also look at this situation and I think to myself, Stefan needs to know that the world doesn't revolve around him. He is getting paid quite well. And Josh Allen said, what you said in that quote is they want him more involved in the offense. Stefondiggs had over 1,000 yards, career high in touchdowns last year with 11. So tell me how Stefondiggs is not being involved in. We've heard this before. We all know what's going on here. And from what we understand, yes, Stefondiggs was in Buffalo. He did have a meeting with the GM and Sean McDermott. I think Brent Bean, right? I think this is GM or something like that. And then he didn't show up for practice. Isn't that interesting? Stefondiggs not showing up for practice. Was he interviewed after today? Because he did show up today, so you have that going for you right about now. But this is the exact same thing he did here. And I defend him saying, like, those tweets could mean anything. No, they do mean something. And they absolutely 1,000% do mean something. Voldy, I don't know if you saw this, zoners. You might have saw this too. The shop that LeBron and Maverick Carter host on HBO and whatnot. Diggs said some things. He goes, "We have all the tools to win, and we got all the players to win it all. I just don't know why we're not able to put it together and things like that." His tirade on the sideline we've seen before. And the fact that somebody had to go out and bring Stefon back to the locker room after that game, after they lost, tells you that Stefon's back to his old ways again.
Yep.
And, they said, well, Josh could have went and tried to reel him back in, all this other stuff. Now, I still like Stefondiggs. I think Stefondiggs has worked his tail off to be in the NFL at this point. He is a phenomenal talent. But Stefon is letting the fame get to him. And I just think at this point in time, he needs to look himself in the mirror and think, what can I do to be a better player? And you know what? Be a better teammate.
Right.
And if he says he wants to be traded, well, guess what? The Bills can't afford to trade you. And and I said this before when we were talking with Dalvin Cook. One way to help them get him back on your side is signing Dalvin Cook. And I think that's a possibility. It does mean trouble. It's got my stamp of approval, 1,000%. This is big trouble. And I think if there's a blow up, the Bills are walking on thin ice, because if you make one misstep here, Stefon's going to act like the prima donna that everyone has talked about, right? So, if you're the Bills, you really got to figure out a way. And they say, oh, things are better now. From today, they said, oh, they're in a better place now. No, there's something cooking here, and I think Stefon wants out. And I don't know why he would want out. You've got all the talent on this team. You just need one piece, and hopefully they can add that with Dalvin. And if they are not able to do it, I'd be very concerned right now if I were the Buffalo Bills. And I hate to say that we told you so, but we told you so. Voldy, what do you got?
That trade for Stefondiggs looking much better for the Vikings.
And JJ showed up to practice without a contract extension. I mean, look at that. So go ahead, Voldy. Sorry.
But yes, with Stefondiggs, this is the same thing we saw 3-4 years ago. Stars starting to rise. He's not getting the ball. He's going to let everybody know. Similar situation with T.O. back in the day, too. Give him the ball, get out of his way, or you don't give him the ball and you're going to hear about it all game. And, it's not for a lack of effort. Of course, the first half of the season, he was lights out of he had 72 receptions, 98 targets, 985 yards, 7 touchdowns, on pace for his best season ever. And that's the first half of the season. Second half of the season, 47 catches, 74 targets, just 4 touchdowns as well. Didn't get the ball very much in the postseason. Unfortunately, that lost to the Bengals as well, and then the subsequent reactions in that game as well. But the wide receiver room is not getting any less crowded for Stefondiggs. Gabe Davis has really shined through the last couple seasons for them. Trent Sherfield, Deontay Hardy, Khalil Shakir as well. There's some young guys that have made some noise. Of course, you have Dawson Knox at the tight end position. They just drafted Dalton Kincaid, who was a stud tight end. He was a first-round pick, so he better be good as well to solidify and help that offense. Running game as well. You do have Nyheim Hines, who will probably be more of a return man this year. Of course, you have James Cook. We'll see what happens if they go out and get a guy like Dalvin Cook or not. But really, with the group that they have right now, they're a solid offense to begin with. And, of course, Josh Allen's going to do everything minus block for himself because he's going to throw the ball. He's going to run the ball. He's going to tackle you. He's going to throw some hands. He's going to drink your beer. He's going to steal your women. He's going to do everything. He's going to eat your chicken wings, and hopefully you lead Buffalo to a Super Bowl because, for God's sake, I would just love to see Josh Allen lift a Lombardi at the expense of a few other teams that I root for, and that including the Vikings and the Patriots. But I think Josh Allen and the Bills deserve it. Is it going to be with Stephon Diggs or not? I would like to see. You would think the first time around with Stephon and what happened at the end of his tenure in Minnesota that he would have been able to go back, reflect, chalk it up to him being immature, being young, and be a better man because of it. Let's just hope this was just a one-day thing and it comes out on the better side because with Diggs and Allen on the field, I mean, that's a lethal duo to stop.
Yeah.
And it's worked. It's worked for Buffalo. If that's not going right, of course, you have Dawson Knox and you do have Gabe Davis as well. But Stephon Diggs, who's going to be bringing a lot of attention to defenses, if that's not going well, then it's not going to be going well for the Buffalo Bills. So could this be the beginning of the end if it continues? Yes. But I think right now, let's just hope that it doesn't continue on. But right now, could it be the beginning of the end? I think it's got my stamp of approval.
So a couple things from the zoners. Mikey, who, again, very well knows this whole Diggs situation himself. It feels like Diggs is having the same sort of controversy every year, and I don't know how much more he wants than being a Bill. I mean, I don't know what team would look at this situation and say, oh, we can handle a Stephon Diggs. The thing is that Stephon needs to look himself in the mirror and think, you know what, I'm acting like a jackass right now, and I need to stop doing that. I need to go out there and ball out. And that's all he has to do. He doesn't have to, sit out and say, oh, I'm not getting the ball. You're over 1,000 yards. You had a record year in touchdowns as well. What is there to complain about? So, and then Lucas says, I just think the Bills struggle this year. I believe so, too. I think they struggle unless they sign Dalvin Cook. Alex says, Madden curse coming for the Bills. It hasn't fared well for some.
It has not fared well. Let's just hope it stays away from Josh Allen, though.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy watching Josh Allen play.
Love watching Josh Allen. It's just too bad he plays in the same division as Patriots.
Right? So. I mean, maybe I think he even admitted that he could have done some more to bring Stephon back into the fold a little bit, and because we haven't seen those guys together and the whole offseason. Even during the season, I think they were kind of distant. So that's not something you want to have. And I think Diggsy just has to really kind of, look himself in the mirror and say, you know what, I just got to go out and play. And you know what, I like this team we have, and we're going to try to win the Super Bowl. That's the mentality you have to have. Not, I need the ball more. I need it now. Blah, blah, blah. Stop. You guys are a really good team, and you guys are a Super Bowl contender. Don't get it twisted. So, all right, last one, Voldy.
Well, we go from the NFL ranks to the college football ranks as the Big Ten announced a new schedule model that will be coming to fruition the 2024 football season when two more decide to join the Big Ten ranks to bring the Big Ten to now 16 teams with the introduction of USC and UCLA into the fold for Big Ten football. This is called the Flex Protect Plus, which sounds either like a deodorant or a shoe insole if you really think about it. But this maintains a 9-game league schedule and contains both guaranteed annual matchups and rotating ones as well. beginning in 2024, every conference pairing will take place at least twice in a 4-year span, and one at each of the school's home stadiums. So basically home and home twice over a 4-year span. Of course, the protected games are going to be the classic staples: Michigan, Ohio State, USC, UCLA, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Indiana, Purdue, Michigan, Michigan State, Iowa, Minnesota, Illinois, Northwestern, Iowa, Nebraska, Maryland at Rutgers, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Purdue as well. So a lot of the familiar matchups that really bring Big Ten football to the forefront are going to be protected no matter what. But teams will also have the opportunity to have opponents play in both 2024 and 2025 called two plays, which will change for the 2026-27 cycle. But at the end of the day, you have UCLA and USC, two Big Ten, legends within themselves as well. Because when you think Big Ten, you think Rutgers, you think Maryland, you think Nebraska. No, this is all complete garbage to begin with. You have 16 teams in a league called the Big Ten. I don't know. Reality is not real when it is in college football. Creative Consultants, Mrs. and Twofold is also giving a thumbs down to 16 teams in the Big Ten. But is it absurd or prove, Matt, that this is the new football schedule model being better for the Big Ten with 16 teams now in it?
Well, I'm glad they protected those games, and I'm glad they protected the Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then the Iowa.
Iowa, Minnesota?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Iowa, Minnesota.
Yep.
Am I missing it? I feel like I'm missing another good one, too, but for Minnesota and some other.
Well, the one thing I'm missing is
Little
that
Brown
this
Jug,
year,
right?
Yeah, Michigan, Minnesota. They do
and
get to play
Penn
this
State.
year. Yeah, I just wish that that would be more of a regular thing, because it's one of the oldest trophies in college football. Of course, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe,
that one
dates back all the way to the 1890s. That's the oldest college football trophy as well. That game, of course, it used to be at the side of Bacon, or no, not the side of Bacon, but used to be another thing before the Florida Rosedale.
Rosedale.
That was the side of Bacon, Iowa, Minnesota. But Minnesota has two of the oldest trophy games in college football. And yet one of them doesn't happen enough. I love the Little Brown Jug, and it's sad that that they haven't won it in, I think, 7-8 years or something like that. But I would just like to see that happen more often. But at least they are taking into account the rivalries, the regional games, the trophy games as well with the Big Ten.
So I'm glad they protected that, and I agree with our creative consultant. Why do we have 16 teams in the Big Ten? I mean, there's no reason why. But again, it's this whole the money and the super top 5 conference thing anyway. But anywho, it's got my stamp of approval. It doesn't really bother me. I get what they're trying to do there. The Flex Protect Plus, put that on an Old Spice deodorant or something like that. That's an idea. Sponsored by the Big Ten. No, but that was perfect, Voldy. But it's fine. I don't really have necessarily a big issue with it. I think it's. Will it make it better with all the extra teams? Sure. Why not? We'll see how it all pans out. But having 16 teams in general is just ridiculous. But at the same time, they're trying to adjust it since it's already a done deal. So, it's got my stamp of approval. It's fine with me. Voldy, what do you got?
Looking at it overall, it just comes down to one thing. It comes down to the money. The Big Ten is trying to basically say, look, we've got USC and UCLA. We're a Power 5 conference. Like, no, you're not. You got Michigan. You got Ohio State by default. You're not a Power 5 conference. You're, like I always say, you're a mid-major conference with $1 billion budget. Congratulations. You got your East Coast, you got your West Coast money now for all the Midwestern teams that can barely keep their lights on to begin with. And Iowa can't stay out of trouble long enough to put a full football team and a full football season together, let alone compete for a national championship, unless your name is in the Ohio State University and Michigan as well. I really look at it, and I just reading this article as well that we're referencing from ESPN. I just love all the little funny anecdotes and details that are into it as well.
Yeah.
Michigan's 2024 trip to USC will mark its first time since 1958. USC will visit Penn State for the first time since 1994, and then also UCLA will visit Michigan for the first time since 1996, and host Ohio State for the first time since 2001. Just completely absurd in the regards. At least they're protecting the big ones, the ones that are going to really matter towards the end of the season and make a big difference overall. I just really appreciate the fact that the Big Ten took that in regard. But having two more teams and playing to the fact that it's going to be, of course, 16 teams in a conference that has 10 or that has 10 in the name itself, yeah. It's completely absurd in my mind. This is just, it's going to be basically being a dead horse when the horse is already buried and in the ground and turned into fossil fuels at this point. So,
couldn't agree more. So, if it makes it better, great. If not, well, you tried. Anyway, great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as always. We made it through, even though Cam Jordan tried to shut down our stream. Shield shoutouts. It's been a week, and we've got some good Shield shoutouts and more former Minnesota guys to add to the list. Winning championships and whatnot. So, but it is what it is. Alex also says, "Have you seen the Netflix series about Kirk Cousins' life outside the NFL?" Oh, yes, I did see that trailer, and I need to send that to Voldy as well. And if you haven't seen that trailer, I can't wait. I mean, I'm stoked for the Cousins thing, but I'm stoked for Mahomes. I'm curious to see how that's all put together. And then Mariota, very interesting as well. So I can't wait to see that Netflix series, and hopefully they do it the year after too. But it's going to be fun with Kirk. So
definitely.
All right. Well, let's get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
Well, before we get to Shield shoutouts, I know that this has been a show that we've had a few announcements that have happened throughout the evening. Of course, big surprises, big return, and everything. But there's one other surprise that we do have here for the show as well.
Ooh.
So it's no secret that I am a fan of various sports teams, various uniformed looks and jerseys within itself. But really, you look back, and if you've been following me on social media the last couple of weeks, you've noticed one thing posted quite regularly as well. An underratedly great uniform that has slowly but disappeared all from the sports world itself. And that is the Vest baseball jersey. There's just something about the sleeveless jersey, maybe 3/4 or a t-shirt underneath. I've played in them. My Legion baseball team, which I proudly have in my uniform catalog right now. Amateur team, shout out to the Hayfield Heat. They no longer exist anymore, but I had one of those jerseys. Don't know where that jersey ended up, but I would like to have it someday. If somebody's got it out there in the world, we'll have to put it out into the ether. But the Vest baseball jersey has slowly but surely all but become non-existent in the world that is uniforms today as well. The most recent example, of course, when the Cincinnati Reds celebrated their 100 years of, different jerseys as well, they brought that back. The Minnesota Twins, their Sunday afternoon jerseys as well when they're back at the Metrodome. Classic jerseys. The Pittsburgh Pirates, they had their various levels with the pinstripes, the cream jerseys, just the cut-off sleeves, showing off the guns, 3/4 sleeve shirt is just the best look baseball can have. People hate the Vest jersey, and I do not agree with those people at all. The Vest baseball jersey is the best baseball jersey in all kind. And here at MinneZona Sports Live, that is that is something that we take pride in as well, and especially for myself. I took matters into my own hands when it comes to a Vest baseball jersey, and introducing to you one MinneZona Sports Live Vest baseball jersey, courtesy fansidea.com. Yes, hopefully the algorithm picked that up. Fansidea.com. Speaking it now into your phones as well, so your algorithm will be flooded with ads from them as well. So I took it into my own hands. Came up on my social media feed one day. MinneZona right on the front, of course, had to put the 34. That's my number. In the Pittsburgh Pirates font, foreshadowing on that as well. But also on the back side, of course, you had to put the shield on the back, the 34. And of course, if you can't tell right there, that's right. That's the MinneZona sports logo right there for you. The Vest baseball jersey, obviously something that I love more than anything. Just be able to breathe well in it, support the team, support the squad, and now MinneZona Sports Live and the jersey are here. They are forever. So proudly have that. More merch, of course, for myself. It's a one of one right now. Look, you can go to fansidea.com right now and order yours as well. Well worth it. Under, I think, $70 in total. Ordering all the way from China. Well worth the wait. A month later. Very happy to have that. So that's leading us off here for Shield Shoutouts. Also got to include on the subject of baseball as well. Got to give a Shield shout out to my alma mater, Byron High School, led by Coach and friend of the program, Jordan Bale, leading the Byron Bears baseball team to the Section 1-3A title. They were down at the state tournament down in Jordan. Unfortunately, didn't get any wins there, but nonetheless, a very good season for the Byron Bears as well, winning the section title. As we came close, our junior year with the baseball team making it to state in the section tournament. Of course, we ran into a really good team from La Crescent in the section championship, but nonetheless, hats off to the Byron Bears. And speaking of championships as well, we talked about with the Nuggets and also the Vegas Golden Knights. Former Timberwolves head coach Ryan Saunders is an NBA champion, winning a title as an assistant coach with the Denver Nuggets. And also a Shield shout out goes out to former Wild player, the Sheriff, Shane Knighty, who has won a Stanley Cup as a member of the Golden Knights. No, he's not a player anymore. He's been retired for numerous years, but he serves as a color analyst for the Knights radio broadcast, and also did a little television with TNT this year for Vegas Knights broadcasts as well for those. So big hats off and big Shield shout-outs to those two guys bringing titles for them. And, well, Sheriff Shane Knighty adding himself to the list of former Minnesota pro athletes that have won titles elsewhere. It does continue here for 2023, and that's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts.
And it's time for Shield Shoutouts.
Cushing had to play the retro Shield Shoutouts intro from the Sports Zone. But Voldy, well done as always with Shield Shoutouts. Check out Voldy's new J. It looks fire. I mean, 5 out of 5 stars, much like our shirts too, which you can buy, by the way.
You can.
But Voldy, I don't want to like put a damper on the whole thing with Byron here, but Papa Callahan went to a baseball game today, and Byron was playing St. Thomas Academy, my alma mater, and the Cadets I think, came away with the victory. So
They did, unfortunately.
I just, when my dad told me that that's what was happening today, Papa Callahan, I was like, whoa, Shield went there. I saved it for this. No, I'm just kidding. But,
too bad they weren't playing in St. Cloud. I would have been there in a heartbeat. I would have taken day off from work. I would have been right over there in a heartbeat, cheering on the boys.
We could have had a show. For goodness sake, that would have been so much fun and whatnot. But congratulations, though. Winning a section title is hard in itself and whatnot, and getting to the state tournament too. So, and then Ryan Saunders, of course. Of
course,
it's just how it goes. And with the sheriff there, Shane Hindi. It's just, there's not much else to say on that front. But we're adding him to the list. I'm just glad we didn't add Jimmy to that, so we're good
Very
there.
happy about that,
But great shot with Shield shoutouts as per usual. Like we said, Zoners, we have merch, and the ones we're going to feature today, we got the stickers now.
Yep.
Thank you to Tyler Knutson, Crown Rental, for the stickers, and they look fantastic. The Shield shoutout ones, like Voldy mentioned, look great. And, oh, by the way, we've got other merch, too. We have shirts. We have shirts, $20, $5 shipping. Make sure you check that out. Right now, the hats have been accounted for. they've been
Yep.
accounted for. We're gonna have to get more, but just remember, at some point, if you want a future order, $20, $5 shipping for our MinneZona hats. So with that being said, make sure you check out W2 Performance. We're a tell at www.w2performance.com. And then check out the victorious P.O.D. with Tyler Hermann and Jack Vickers. Make sure you check out TLS Performance with Troy Stoudemire Jr. and all his stuff. And make sure you check out the Popcorn Bucket List with Nick Dahlhoff, Ryne Myhrberg on Omni Entertainment on YouTube. Make sure you check those guys out. There's going to be an episode of me taking on little Mitch Ribby. So make sure you guys check that out when that comes out, because I forgot to mention. That's what Voldy, before the show, we talked about this on people we need to have on. We got to have Mitch on here.
We do.
We need to address the elephant in the room with this whole controversy surrounding the 2014 Mustang volleyball documentary. It's very controversial. We did.
Controversial.
We kind of sort of buried the hatchet, but we may need to bring it up again here on MinneZona Sports Live. So, Mitch, we'll be talking to you soon, and we'll get you on. And we got other guests that are coming on, but we'll keep it quiet for now. So we want to surprise people, and that's what we do. We've done all these surprises, the stickers, Shield Shoutout stickers, and then obviously Voldy's vest jersey. So fire. Anywho, that's going to do it for episode 152. Yes, we did have Cam Jordan try to shut down the stream, but apparently it didn't fairly well, because guess what? We can also start this up, and we applaud the Zoners for staying with us after the treachery that has happened with Cam Jordan. But you know what? We asked him to come on the show, and it looks like we pissed him off a little bit. So we got that going for us. Anyway, we'll see you. I believe we'll be back next week, and who knows what we got. I hope Money Munson was in talks to get back on the show. He is. He very much is. We're in contact, and we'll get it going, because we'll see if Money Munson can back up his talk on the Wolves trades. So we'll see. All right, and as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.